Hello, BookTube. I have a little mail for you today. A gray, overcast Tuesday here in Boston. Very humid, very hot. Nowhere is there the glorious sunlight that we've had. It's just a sort of a blah day. Trees changing everywhere, leaves falling everywhere, despite the fact that it's summer temperatures. It's shirt sleeve temperature. And I've got a little mail. I've got 3 boxes, which is rare. I don't have any packages, just boxes. And a bit of periodicals. It's just one periodical, but it's enough of a periodical on this channel because for some odd reason, me critiquing Decor magazines has become a little mini favorite on this channel. And I got El Decor. I got a magazine actually called Decor. And this is the cities issue. This, like all the square-bound glossy magazines, has mostly ads at the front. In fact, entirely ads at the front, and then in the back you've got home profiles. So in the front you have these things, these watches that cost $15,000, even though you have your cell phone in hand literally at all times. Literally, the people who read these magazines never actually let go of their cell phones, even at night. There's a couture item called a cell phone mitten that allows you to hold onto your cell phone even in your sleep without damaging it, even if you roll over on it. If it's in your cell phone mitten, you don't ever have to let go of it. The cell phone mittens are even waterproof so that you can take it you don't ever have to let go of your cell phone, which is always telling you the time and has 10 different kinds of chronological notices on it. So the only reason that you would wear a $50,000 wristwatch is to show other people that you have $50,000 to blow on a wristwatch. But that's not the only thing. There are all kinds of other ads here. Like this, for instance. Look at this. There's a hideous wristwatch right there. That is single-stitch Chinese slave labor band, and then an incredibly ugly and very delicate watch that will break within a year. And you can see the price is upon request. And the reason for that is because even in the ad, they don't want to risk outrage by listing how much this thing is. That thing costs $16 to make. And I guarantee you it's in excess of $50,000 to buy. That item right there, that hideous thing, you wouldn't be caught dead. You wouldn't want it on your corpse in your coffin. I guarantee that costs north of $50,000. So naturally, they don't list the price. But they do list the price for this thing. Look at that. That's a chair, believe it or not. It's foam, or it's rubber and plastic. It isn't comfortable. You can't sit on it. You can't recline on it. You can't stay on it. You will roll off either side. And it's $1,420 for just one of those. And of course, when it comes to chairs, I would, as long as we're thumbing our way through the beginning of El Decor, I thought I would show our old friend, because there are all kinds of ads in the front here. But of course, when it comes to chairs, we have our old favorite right back here. Doesn't that look inviting? How wonderful. Just rest your arms on those armrests, yeah? And slice the long muscles from your forearms. That's what they're for. Or maybe you want to lean back. Oh, what's that you say? There is no back? Oh, well. But when you get done with all of the ads, you get to the home profiles. And this is a cities issue, so it's all about apartments in urban areas. And one of them is in Belgravia in London, a London townhouse. And it came the closest to making me feel like, so many times with these magazines, it's all a question of lost potential. You look at it, if you're a normal person and not a weirdo like the 1% of 1% of the mega wealthy creatures that own these spaces, if you're not a weirdo and you look at these spaces, you'll think right away, if only. You won't think at last, which is what they're thinking you think. Instead, you'll be thinking, if only. If only the person who did this had had a tiny fraction of common sense or good taste, this space would look really good. And this London townhouse, it came very close. That is the entrance foyer. Look at how cute that is. You go up the winding stairs, and then here is the parlor, the main parlor. I love how cozy it is. I love how intimate it is. There are no books anywhere. But I don't have much to complain about there. My one complaint about the one thing you're not going to be able to tell from a photo spread like this is probably how small this room is. It's probably quite a small room. And if it's quite a small room, you are doing it a disservice to hamper the light coming through the windows like this. There ought not to be all this folder all over here. The light coming through the windows will make the room seem bigger. Will make the room feel bigger, but only if you let it. The same thing here. A nice little den area. Imagine how nice this would be if it was full of books instead of, again, inhospitable chairs. but nevertheless, the bones of this area. Look at this little private garden in the back there. How mouth-watering. And the bathroom. Not bad. Not bad. If I had all the money in the world, which I'm assuming the owner of this townhouse does, and if I had all the discretion in the world, any freedom by the neighborhood association to do any kind of building, of course I would want a tub and not just a beautiful shower. But the shower is beautiful. And look at this. I think this is the guest bedroom. No, this is called the dressing room. And it has, you can see the mistake on the part of whatever designer charged $1 million to this mark in order to hawk these services. The mystique is a Bedouin desert tent. And it's a dumb mystique. So get rid of all of this. Get rid of all this stupid tent mystique. And strip this down to its essentials, maybe to brick or to its original boardwork. Get rid of the torture chamber bed. Get rid of the torture chamber chair. Put in furniture for people instead of for photo shoots. But you could make something out of an intimate little space like that. And then we have a home in Milan that surprised me because it has books in it. They are no content books. If you zoom in on that picture, you will see, again, torture chamber chairs and a torture chamber table. The table is glass, delicate glass. So you can't do anything on it, and you're not supposed to. You're just supposed to look at it. But imagine a table you're not supposed to work on. Again, look at a table like that and ask yourself the only interior design question that matters. Is it compatible with me and Deb? Two big, ungainly, disheveled, fat, sweaty old people that you very much want hanging around the house. No, that table is not. Deb and I would shatter that in 5 seconds. The pieces would go lengthwise up our arms, and it would look like a convincing suicide attempt. Tables like this ought not to exist. You're not supposed to come anywhere near it. Moving a computer anywhere on that would scratch it. And the books, they look bookish at first, but if you zoom in, you see that they are big, flashy, no-content books. Very, very much a shame. There's a very attractive outside garden here in Milan. Very nice space there. I wondered what this was. It's not a garden in any practical sense. You're growing flowers, but that is not a pool, a swimming pool for a human. I don't think you're even supposed to wade in that. I wonder what that is. I mean, as an accent, I like it, but myself, just instinctively, I don't like to see clear water on a boiling hot day that I'm not allowed to touch or use. So do people ever step into that pond? I wonder if they do. Aside from, the illegal alien gardener who waters those pots and is yelled at by the owner. And here, this is the same house. This is what I mean when you look at the books. There are books in this room, but they are not books that someone pulls down and reads. They are just not. Probably best exampled by the Modigliani book is backwards. So it was put there purely for decoration. It's never been touched. No one's ever used it. No one ever put it back that way. But there was one other, there's a house in Lebanon that is just monumentally horrible. Just that is the oh so inviting living room. That's the chimney in the middle there. Would you want to use it? No, you would not. Would you want to be anywhere around it? Also, the torture chamber chair. One element that seems to run throughout all of these home profiles is that the chairs cannot be comfortable. But then I want to show you our last thing here. Where was this? This is in Soho. And this is the living room. I want you to just soak in the appearance. That is the living room of this place. I don't know what this is, but you can see angular, ugly furniture, whatever these things are, these pillbox type things. Are you supposed to sit on them? No. Are you supposed to store things in them? No. Do they serve any purpose? No. Note what you're looking at here. Everything perfectly arranged on the shelves to within a micromillimeter. Everything perfectly arranged on the tables to within a micromillimeter. And then you think it's just that one room, but no, here's another room. Could not be more clinical if it was in a science lab. Whatever this is, whatever that is, chairs that you're not supposed to use, furniture that's perfectly micromillimeter arranged. And that goes all throughout. Here is, this is probably the worst example. This is the dining room. the scene of many a warm, convivial, laughing evening. But you look at all of those things, and then you get to the pull quote for this particular home profile, which made me laugh out loud. The pull quote is, Todd is the designer, the multi-million-dollar designer that this guy was built into using. And the quote is, "We met Todd and loved his energy, creativity, and passion." For rooms like this, his energy, his creativity, and his passion. Maybe as a vivisector, but otherwise no. So that was Decor. It was once again just a series of missed opportunities. Very, very sad, but that's what you get when you have more money than God. Your sense goes right out the window. But there'll be other Decor magazines. We might find something that we like. But in the meantime, let's do these packages. They're all boxes. 3 boxes. So boxes are a great source of delight for Steve. They almost always mean finished copies. Yeah, this first one is a finished copy. What have we got here? Oh, no. Okay. All right, well, the delight goes right out the window, but I am glad to have it. This comes out in January of next year, and it is the finished copy of Frank Costigliola's biography of George Kennan. There he is, looking his usual cheerful self. This is the first major biography of Kennan since the gigantic 1,000-page one. This one is long, but it's not that long. That came out about 10 years ago. The authorized biography that came out about 10 years ago, or maybe more. So what have we got here? The diplomat and historian George Kennan, who lived from 1904 to 2005, ranks as one of the most important figures in American foreign policy and one of the most complex. Drawing on many previously untapped sources, the author's authoritative biography offers a new picture of a man of extraordinary ability and ambition whose idea of containing the Soviet Union helped ignite the Cold War, but who spent the next half-century trying to extinguish it. Always prescient, Kennan in the 1990s warned that the eastward expansion of NATO would spur a new Cold War with Russia. OMG. Well, he's not alive anymore for me to yell at. NATO is not a coercive organization. It is not expanding in the sense that the Soviet Union expanded. NATO is not a coercive organization. You have to ask to be a member. And there's a long introduction process. It's your admission is not guaranteed. It is a voluntary union. Even as Kennan championed rational realism in foreign policy, is that what he did, really? His personal and professional lives were marked by turmoil. And though he was widely respected and honored by presidents and the public, he judged his career a failure because he had been dropped as a pilot of U.S. foreign policy. I wonder why. Impossible to classify. Oh, is he indeed? I don't think he is. Impossible to classify. Kennan was a sui generis thinker, a trenchant critic of both communism and capitalism, and a pioneering environmentalist. Living between Russia and the United States, he witnessed firsthand Stalin's tightening grip on the Soviet Union and the collapse of Europe during World War II and the nuclear arms race of the Cold War. Okay, well, the year is going to start off with a big, long biography of George Kennan. This is guaranteed, virtually guaranteed, to get long think pieces in places like the New York Review of Books. Do never let these kinds of books alone. They just never do. So we'll see what the pundits have to say about George Kennan. I wonder, in such circumstances, the London Review, the TLS, the New York Times Book Review, the New York Review of Books, I wonder if I'm assuming that the book section editors for those journals will be careful not to go to the same people who reviewed the previous George Kennan biography. I'm assuming that they won't do that. that they'll at least try to swap chairs around while talking about this Eeyore of American foreign policy. But anyway, that's the first one. It's January, so I don't need to think about it. Now let's look at this second one. Also a finished copy. Oh, okay, great. Fantastic. All right, this comes out in late November, so this is this year. I very much do have to worry about this one. And it's right up my alley. Actually, they both are in good and bad ways. This is Isabella Stewart Gardner, A Life. This is wrapped in plastic. Very interesting that, actually, since the plastic doesn't do me any good, let's get rid of it. But it's very interesting. I don't remember the last time. Do you remember the last time that you saw a new release? This is from Princeton, that did not have the author's name on the cover? I don't think I remember the last time I saw that. That's kind of rare. It's a thin thing, too. Look at the size of it. So what do we got here? This is by Nathaniel Silver and Diana Sieve Greenwall. And it's about Isabella Stewart Gardner, whose dates are given as 1840 to 1924. She assembled an extraordinary collection of art from diverse cultures and eras and built a Venetian-style palazzo in Boston to share these exquisite treasures with the world. Yeah, well, she was certainly there when it was built. It was her husband, Jack, who built it, but that's all right. Can't have that, can we, in 2022? But her life and work remain shrouded in myth. Separating fiction from fact, this book paints an unforgettable portrait of Gardner, drawing on her substantial personal archive and including previously unpublished findings to offer new perspectives on her life and her construction of identity. The author shed new light on her connections to minority communities in Boston, her views on suffrage and other issues of the day, and sources of her and her husband's wealth, and her ties to politicians, writers, and artists. What emerges is a multifaceted portrait of a trailblazing collector and patron of the art, from Italian Renaissance paintings to Chinese antiquities, who built a museum unprecedented in its curatorial vision. Okay, well, she was a trailblazing collector, yes, indeed. Bernard Berenson took a wad of money from her every month and went through Europe and ransacked everything that wasn't nailed down. I guess that's trailblazing in a way. Beautifully illustrated, this book challenges any portrayal of Gardner as a straightforward feminist hero, revealing instead an exceptional, complex woman who created a legendary museum and played a vibrant and influential role in the art world. And this is distributed for the Gardner Museum. So this is the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is in her old Venetian palazzo in the Fenway, over by the Fens, and it is amazing. It is an amazing thing. It is one of a handful of must-see things if you visit Boston, is the Gardner Museum. Because it isn't like a lot of other museums. I found that all the big cities have a pair of museums, like the Museum of Fine Arts here in Boston, which is right across the street from the Gardner Museum, and the Gardner Museum. Most cities have that. Most cities have the weird atmospheric tension between the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Frick, where in one, it's a gigantic building whose main purpose is to show and educate about art. And in the other is universally smaller, and the area is not antiseptic. The building itself is a work of art. That is definitely true with the Gardner Museum. It is just a crime to your Boston vacation time to go to the MFA and not go to the Gardner. You really have to do both if you're going to do either, and the Gardner if you're only doing one. And this is done with, under the auspices of distributed for the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. I don't know quite what that means, but I'm assuming that there's the Princeton University Press logo, but there's also the museum's logo on the spine there. So this is, look at that. Look at that, very nice. That is what the inside the museum. And this is sort of flexible with French flaps. It's not quite a hardcover, and it's clearly meant. See, that is a detail from this portrait by John Singer Sargent of Isabella Stewart Gardner, who this is at the pinnacle of the Gardner Museum. You can only move in one real direction when you're going through the Gardner, and it leads you higher and higher in the building, and this is at the top of that building. And Gardner told Isabella Stewart Gardner, or Sargent told her while they were working on this portrait, he kept telling her, I want this to be a kind of a dignified, almost angelic portrait, right? I mean, it's no coincidence that she has a kind of a halo. But he told her, I'm very much working with the temper of the room, is one of the ways he used to put it. And he was basically telling her, in order for this to look the way we both want it to look, you have to stop talking. You can't have your mouth open. And she didn't, so he painted her with her mouth open. but I'm assuming that if the museum has its fingerprints literally on this book, that this will be heavily distributed in the gift shop. You'll be able to get it there. Maybe probably the authors will do a talk at the Gardner Museum. They probably do talks all over Boston. I'll have to check and see on that. But anyway, a new biography of Isabella Stewart Gardner is always a treat. There have been two that I really liked. Louisa Hall Tharp did one, and also Douglas Shantucci did one. And both of them they're not at all the same kind of book, but they're both wonderful. In their own ways, they're both wonderful. So that's great. So we have a life of Isabella Stewart Gardner and a life of George Kennan. So it's annoying subjects we hear in the mail hall. And then we have the final box, which is an Amazon box. So naturally, it's got me wondering if one of you broke rule number 1 and sent me a book. Those of you who are new to the channel, rule number 1 is don't send me a book. If you're browsing just idly on Amazon and you see something that you think I might want, don't do it. Especially don't do it as a surprise. Run it by me. I know a lot of you love your surprise gifts, so you don't want to do that. But if you run it by me, I can at least tell you, no, thank you. Don't bother. As I always say on this channel, if you're hell-bent on giving me something, you don't need to. Your presence when I chat with you every day is more than enough. But if you're hell-bent on giving me something, simply call the Brattle Bookshop in downtown Boston, the used bookstore in downtown Boston, and swear out some store credit for me. It'll go a long way, and you'll see the results of it, because I'll do a mail haul. I'll do a Brattle book haul. That is surefire. That is guaranteed to work. I know that the gift certificates have a poor odor in our culture. They're viewed as sort of the last resort of the unimaginative. But a gift resort, and I think any of you would agree with me, a gift resort in a bookstore is Aladdin's cave of wonders. It is the best possible thing that you could give a bookworm. Is a store credit at a bookstore is the best possible thing you could give a bookworm. Because that way, you won't be sending me whatever this thing is. You won't be sending me, here's a paperback that I read and like, or worse yet, one that I wrote that I'd just kind of like you to read and maybe write a 1,000-word review of it. Anyway, Ooh, can this really be? Oh my goodness. Here, I'm almost hesitant to even see if this is real. Can this possibly be real? Here, I'm holding you in suspense here because I know just how I want to do this. Oh my god. Oh. It is real. It's the new entry-level Kindle. This is Kindle's new basic Kindle. This is in denim blue. Look at that. Look at how handy this is. God, it's smaller than. Here's the paperwhite that I have. I was rereading the smog parts of The Hobbit. There is the Kindle Paperwhite, and there is the Kindle Basic. Let's line them up on their corner. See that? The Basic is smaller in both dimensions. It is just a smaller device. Wow. Amazon is trumpeting a little, not as much as Kobo is, but they're trumpeting that the two new models, the black and the blue, for the Kindle Basic, are made with recycled materials, and the package is entirely recycled. And they make a point of saying in the fine print that the denim blue one has less recycled material because you need to inject the dye. You need to add a lot of material that is itself going to be recycled. But this is the new entry-level Kindle. This is not the Paperwhite, and it's not the Kindle Oasis, and it's not the Paperwhite Signature Edition. It's just the lowest priced Kindle that you can go. But it has had a drastic update. It's lighter. Good Lord, it's the lightest e-reader I've ever had. And it's It's got a much greater screen resolution. Until I set this up, I probably won't be able to show you the screen resolution. I should do a tech video review of this thing. It's got the USB-C on the bottom, which is a draw for a lot of people because the USB-C has sort of become the standard power core configuration. Most people who are constantly updating their tablets or their laptops, everything is running on USB-C except for their e-reader. Now they won't have to worry about that. It'll just be one power cord. I'm not quite like that. I have a really nice Samsung tablet that works on a USB-C cord, but it's a little temperamental. I tend not to use it in place of an iPad, and all of my iPads are older, so they all have the Lightning port thing. And the same thing is true with my MacBooks. Have I got one here? Yes, I do. I have one here. I still have the multi-prong power cords for my MacBooks because all of my MacBooks are 2016 or younger. I have one that is a USB-C. Oh, good Lord, look at this thing. This has incredibly sharp definitions. It is not flush screen, as long as we're talking about, I've got the Kindle Paperwhite right here. The Paperwhite is flush screen. It's just like a tablet. It has bezels for you to hold on, but it doesn't have any indentation. Whereas this has a very minute indentation. See? There's a ring, a lip around there, which I think is viewed as slightly less premium. I don't see a functional difference myself. This has increased storage. It's not waterproof or even water resistant. So unlike the Paperwhite, you could read in the tub or at the poolside, and you wouldn't have to worry about somebody doing a cannonball and it getting splashed with water or even falling into the tub. If you've got one of those platforms across the top of the tub where you've got, you know, your shampoo and your soap and whatnot, and you like to put your Kindle there, if it slips and falls into the tub, you're not going to have to worry about it. It can be submerged and still be fine. It'll just dry out. This thing doesn't have that, so you are advised to be careful with it. I think it's natural for people to be careful with these things anyway. Wow. Okay. Well, I just need to set this thing up then. All right, so I have the basic Kindle. I've never had a basic Kindle before. They've been around forever. You can get them for $10 on eBay. This has more storage, which is great. I'm side-loading books, so I'll want as much storage as possible. Fantastic. All right. Well, this comes with the soy plant material-based boxing. And then there was something else that has a little bit of weight to it. It's got a tiny little booklet of instructions, but the thing itself gives you instructions. But there's a little weight on this thing too. Don't tell me. Oh my God, they do. They include a power cord with this thing. Great. I already have one of these, but I'll use this. So, you know, and this thing is the thing about this is so light. Little handheld e-readers, the thing about them is that they require virtually no power, and they last, if you have a Kindle, you know, they last forever. So what I tend to do, I don't know if other people do this, I just use one of these. I don't use the dedicated block plug. I just plug it into my laptop while I'm working. I work on my laptop all day long. And when I'm working on my laptop, I'm not using my Kindle. My hands might be flying around doing all sorts of things, but I'm doing extra side research on an iPad, or mostly just working on the laptop, or I've got a physical book that I'm reviewing, that I'm going through index by index, page by page, note by note, that sort of thing. Not using the Kindle. I have gradually sort of organically moved my e-reading to pure pleasure, which is great. So I will spend like an hour at the end of the day, on and off in the course of an hour, while I'm wrapping up my work day on the fainting couch. I will spend about an hour isolating, reformatting, and loading up the stuff I want to have on the Kindle for that night. And then that's the only thing I use. I don't have to worry about anything else. I could just read. 3, 4. Okay. So I've fallen into the habit of just charging these to full capacity during the day when I'm on my laptop. It's up and open anyway, and now I've got the cord for it. So I'll just 5. That's 5. So that's 1,000 people dead, but it's not 1,000 people dead. It's the Dunkin' Donuts down the street is running out of jelly donuts. So screw traffic lights. I wouldn't want to run out of those. You need 5 ambulances if 1,000 people are dead. And there aren't 1,000 people dead, obviously. It's what I always say when there's intrusive background noise here. There is no actual emergency. So don't be worried about that if you softies out there are worried about that. Okay, well, this is the, hello, welcome to the 11th generation Kindle. So that's what this is. This comes with 60% power. I will charge this up all day, load it up, and try it out tonight. I will try out the reading experience tonight. What's it like to read on a basic Kindle? As opposed to, I was reading on this for, 3 or 4 hours last night. Just completely peacefully reading on it. Despite the fact that when you're resting this in one hand, which is what you're naturally going to do, you're going to rest in one hand and thumb page turn like that. When you're doing that, the power button is exactly where you're resting it. Right, exactly where you're resting it, which will lead you to put the device to sleep and whatnot. And bafflingly, Kindle is again doing that. And I've watched a bunch of videos about this device. I was really curious to know about it. And I've heard that from a lot of people that the sheer lightness of the thing will prevent you from turning off the device. That the power button has a little bit of resistance in it, and the machine itself is so light that the two are never going to happen. I'm going to read this thing like this. I'm going to rest it on my pinky like that. I'm going to turn the pages with my thumb. And when I do that, you can see my finger is pretty much exactly on the power button. So we will see. We'll have to see if that works. Fantastic. Well, this is... first thing I will do is sync this up with my Amazon account, which will download immediately all of the stuff that I've gotten from Amazon. So it won't be an empty device in a few minutes. But then I'll want to spend some time sideloading stuff and to fill it up and see how much of the memory I can fill up in 1 hour. Fantastic. Well, okay. So I got 2 books and an entire library. I got a biography of George Kennan and a biography of Isabella Stewart Gardner, 2 really annoying people who have new biographies. Fantastic. And I got the entry-level Kindle in denim blue, the only e-reader I have in denim blue. The only one I have that isn't just in the featureless black like that. There's the Amazon Paperwhite, and here's a Kobo. The Kobo has the power button up where it belongs, where you can't possibly hit it by accident. And the Kobo also has page turn buttons for Thomas Harris's Hannibal there. It has physical page turn buttons, which these touchscreen things don't. Great. Fantastic. Okay, well, as far as mail hauls go, Steve is content. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.